Welcome back to TYT Sports and RotoWire. Jason Rubin, managing editor of RotoWire.com. Chris Liss on the right, or maybe your left, depending how you're looking at this video.
Right.
Who knows? So we're going to play a little NFL owner / commissioner. I would never peg you as Roger Goodell. That's just probably the worst insult I can give you. And I wouldn't even...
Free Josh Gordon. There's no way Josh Gordon's suspended under my reign.
Right.
He's reinstated immediately. Immediately.
Okay, if you're commissioner for a day...
And assigned to the New York Giants. And assigned to the New York
Is that the first act?
Of course. Pardon Edward Snowden, reinstate Josh Gordon. It's obvious. It's the first two things I do as NFL commissioner.
Yes, because Goodell obviously...
He has more power than the president. Of course he does.
That's possibly true. In terms of the owners, I'm also not going to make you out to be Dan Snyder or Jerry Jones. Yeah. That's probably as evil as making Goodell. Yeah. If you had to choose an owner to be right now, who would you be?
Which owner would I be? I mean, the Giants owners are pretty low-key. They're pretty good dudes.
Nice guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the Mara family?
Yeah, the Mara family, and then Tisch is the co-owner. So
we're back here with Chris Mara, now owner of the New York Giants.
Right.
And what has come
up... See
my
cousin? She's in movies. She's
Kate Mara?
Yeah. Both of them. They're Rooney Mara.
I can't say it's spoiler for House of Cards, so I don't want to ruin anything. Chris Mara on my right, which actually works out very well for us because we're Giants fans. Wes Welker just signed with the Rams.
Yeah.
And he's got a whole plethora of concussion issues.
Yeah.
He had 3 in a 9-month span.
Right.
His friends have told him, please stop playing football. Right. His family's concerned. Granted, recently from Monday Morning Quarterback, Peter King had this to say about it, and I understand his points, and I want to hear your side on this as well. So first, let's go to Peter King from MMQB. On Monday night, Rams GM Les Snead would not discuss anything about Welker's concussion history because of medical privacy issues. It's a very sensitive subject in our league right now, obviously, Snead said from St. Louis. The awareness about concussions in this league is at an all-time high and should be. I'll keep all those details in-house. But that was a major part of our homework on this. Wes has talked to those experts in the medical profession. The physical examination was a very important part of this. Peter King goes on to say, those who have not examined Welker or his medical records are the ones who will criticize the signing and criticize Welker for not retiring. It's understandable. Even the best neurologist cannot tell Welker what another concussion would do to his life 10, 20, 30 years from now. Kurt Warner sat because very smart doctors couldn't predict the future for him and wasn't willing to risk the health of his brain any longer. This is Welker's choice. So, Chris, if you are the owner of the New York Giants and Welker, which he did train for.
Did he try out?
He tried out for, and they were impressed by him.
Right.
But they seemed to go along the route of, we don't know if this guy should be playing football.
Is that why, or did he just not fit with their team?
According to Peter King,
so why did they try him out though if they were going to do that?
I don't know because they said they were very impressed with his work.
When they asked him his name and he didn't know, then they realized it was a red flag. He ran good routes.
Well, I mean, there was actually a part of that article too, actually an interview with ESPN.
How do you feel when you hear everyone say Wes Welker should retire because he's had too many concussions?
I mean, I understand it. I mean, trust me, my family, and it's not like it hasn't entered my mind or anything else, but I think it's more like after you have one, and you get all those feelings of what am I doing, and you're just kind of in a haze at the time, and your mind and brain just kind of has to reboot a little bit, just over time and recovering and doing what I need to do to get back there on the field, and I feel fine.
Let's just be honest with this thing, right? Nobody really knows, right? It's like smoking, right? If you smoke 3 packs a day for 40 years, you'll probably get lung cancer and die. But not everybody does, and not everybody gets it at the same time. Not everybody gets it as aggressive a form of it. Mm-hmm. We just don't really know, but we know what's likely, right? We know generally what happens when you get hit in the head too many times, get concussed, and your brain gets rattled, which is what a concussion is. And it leads to very bad things, not only memory loss and stuff, but suicides. I mean, depression, suicide has happened all the time in the NFL. Even Ryan Field, the center fielder in baseball, crashed on the wall a bunch of times. He killed himself. But nobody really knows any specific person's situation. And I think it's very dangerous to say, this is generally the case, therefore, specifically, you're not allowed to do this. I think it should be, this is generally the case, and you need to know the risks, and we need to advise you how it usually goes. Doesn't go well. But if you're informed of that and you want to play and you're, not deemed insane and you're able to consent for yourself, I think you should be allowed to. As the owner of the team, is he really good? Does he look great? Can he really help the team? Right. And he wants to play? I don't know. I don't. The damage may already be done. Also, like it already may be that he's going to kill himself in 5 years, even if he doesn't play.
Well, yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
We just don't know, and I just think it's hard to sit here and say where the limit is. I mean, we could have said that for guys who are still in the league who have 1 or 2 fewer concussions than Welker has. I just think it's just not up to us to do that, you know? And so if the guy really wants to play, I don't, you know, he could get killed. He could go down a very bad spiral. But if he's cleared physically, passes the physicals, can do the job, he's good at his job still,
Yeah.
I think you let him play.
So I disagree, but I don't angrily disagree.
Right,
And that's just because, and you're right about that it's not our choice. Obviously, it's his. Granted,
Well, it's the owner's choice. They don't have to
that's
sign
true.
him.
That's true. It's also an owner's choice to say, like, no, for your own safety, I cannot consent to doing this because you might die on the field.
Right.
So after Ricardo Lockett was left motionless on the field, like, I had this sickening moment of having a more difficult time watching the NFL.
Right.
Just because there's so much evidence building up about CTE and everything that goes along with it that, like, 96% of these players, after they die, get these brain examinations afterwards, and they have all the clear signs of CTE, which was found with science years later. Now, you're right. We don't know. Maybe he's one of the, and I want to call it the lucky ones, similar to those who smoke, that, like, if you smoke for 40 years, you probably will die of lung cancer, but that doesn't mean you will. There's other things that could happen.
My friend's dad quit when he was 75. He's 90 now.
I mean, look, Keith Richards is kicking.
Yeah.
Right, and that's my example. That's the example I use all the
Right.
time.
There's always a random dude who bucks the odds.
Right, and Keith Richards is 135 years old. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, personally, I would hate, if I knew Wes Welker personally, I would plead to him to say, please don't do this.
Sure.
Right? And I think friends and some family have, but you make the good point that it is his choice.
Right.
Granted, and the relation I
What
make...
if he, like, put it from his perspective, like, other people are telling him what he can and can't do, like, they know
And
better
that's,
than him?
that's what I've kind of come, over the last 2 weeks, I was very back and forth. I was so close to, like, I can't watch the NFL anymore.
Right.
I can't watch people going, like, just dying in person, almost. Not literally, but the fact is, like, years later, it could be.
Let me give you the counter argument, though, about how it's their choice, because it is his choice, right? But, you know, especially a lot of people growing up in poorer communities, don't have a lot of good opportunities. You know, you basically have a choice of, people are like, oh, well, they're voluntarily doing this violent sport, you know, let him do it. But it's like, what are your other choices? You know, there's no real social safety net in this country. You know, we're not very good about providing for people. It's kind of a dog-eat-dog world. A lot of people end up in prison. A lot of people end up broke, you know, have a very tough life. But then the other alternative is, hey, be a multimillionaire and be glorified and play football. So, you know, the idea that it's voluntary, it is voluntary, but it's very coercive, a lot of this stuff.
When there's a big paycheck.
Now,
at the end of
Welker's
the
already
deal,
had a career, so
Yeah,
he's
that's
already hopefully saved his money, some of it, you know, so that he's doing okay. He could probably get a job because he's Wes Welker doing a lot of things.
Right.
So it doesn't really apply to him as much. But I am sympathetic to the argument that, yes, it's their choice, but is it really their choice in the same way that, like, that it's not coerced?
Right.
Because our society coerces that choice. There's not a lot of good options for a lot of these guys. And so, what are you going to do? You're going to play the sport.
What you're going to do is you're going to retire, keep your head safe, and spend all your time making perfect daily fantasy lineups. Be in that 1.4%.
Yeah, you could do it. It's hard, though. It's very hard.
Unless his brain can't compute the math
it's
anymore.
it's very hard, yeah.
That's true. So you're an owner, yes or no, you sign Wes Welker if you liked his tryout?
If I really thought our team needed him, and he and I were clear on the risks, and then he said, yeah, I know the risks. You know, who knows if I'm already screwed anyway, but this is what I love to do. I've got one more year left, maybe 2 at most. This is it. I want to do this. I would say, okay, I would sign him, yeah.
Cool. All right. Chris Mara takes Wes Welker. Now,
That's right.
I don't. It's a very different type of case because Wes Welker is a concussion-related issue.
Right.
Ray Rice is a PR domestic violence related issue.
Yep.
Now, obviously, Greg Hardy has been circulating through the news for God knows how long, and for obvious reasons as to why he's a complete and utter scumbag. That's really the only way to put it. But
I just think he did a very bad thing, and he should have gone to jail for it, right?
Yes.
And then I think when people serve their time, you know, and say, look, I'm sorry, I did something terrible, I think then we need to say, okay, he's done his thing. To say someone's permanently screwed, that nothing they can do can redeem them is a real moral hazard because then why should they be a better person?
But it doesn't help because look at the two cases. You have Greg Hardy who can't even muster together like a real apology.
Well, that's
or
a
even
problem.
take the steps
That's a problem.
And then you have Ray Rice who I want to read what he had to say, and of course, obviously...
But he had a real bullshit apology the first time.
He did, and it took time.
And it took time for him to know that he had to save his own ass. I mean, it's hard to...
But he's correcting himself, and ever since that bullshit first apology, he's realized it's okay. I totally understand what my visual did and the effect it had on society and the survivors of domestic violence, Rice told ESPN's Sports Center this past Sunday morning. So for me, to never be forgiven, I understand those things, and I totally take full responsibility.
Anybody can say that.
Right, but now he's working with domestic violence PSAs, the same to which what do you call it? Michael Vick, when he served his time, came back, and now he's the spokesperson for PETA.
I know, but it's all just a bunch of stuff they have to do to even survive.
But Greg Hardy's not doing that.
Yeah, but so Greg Hardy is probably a bad case and not a good example, okay?
Right.
I'm saying, like, I don't really think the whole shame yourself in front of the public thing is the important thing, right? I think you need to be right, exactly. Right. Yeah, she really got a good one, but she didn't atone for the shit that she has done.
That's true.
She needs more than that.
I mean,
she's way worse than Ray Rice and Greg Hardy, by the way.
One
Cersei,
more lap.
Way worse.
One more lap.
Five
would have
more
been fine.
Okay, but she's done a lot of very bad shit. But these guys are, they did something really horrible, right? But we have to have the thing in society where you do something really horrible and there's a severe punishment for it. Mm-hmm. But yet when you do it and you serve it, then you can be sort of rehabilitated and like, okay, you're back, because you don't want to take people and say you did this terrible thing and now there's just no point in you living anymore. Go kill yourself.
Right.
That's basically the message from people. Go kill yourself. We don't want anything to do with you ever again. I don't think that's a good message. I think the message is you should get another chance. You should be contrite and you should, not this bullshit PR thing that they all have to do, but I mean, like, just be contrite and be like, God, I really fucked up and it's really bad, and go to jail and suffer the consequences and get over it. But the problem is teams aren't going to sign this guy because it's going to be this whole backlash. And people, on Twitter, they like to be the guy who's like, see, look how moral I am. I'm going to criticize this guy. I'm going to say, right? And because it's a popular cause to be outraged at this, it feeds on itself. Separate that from, yes, the dude did something horrible. Mm-hmm. You get this whole backlash, and it's just, Ray Rice, to be honest, isn't a good enough player at this stage to be worth the hit. He's not worth. I was
going to say, if Ray Rice was performing at his abilities,
if you were Adrian Peterson,
right? That's a good example to use. But also, if he was performing at his 2011, 2012 abilities when he was a top back in the league, especially in the offenses that work now,
right?
He was that dream running back.
I'll tell you something else. The NFL screwed him because he hit his fiancée. Mm. It was recorded. The video hadn't even been out yet.
Right.
But they knew, the people that he dragged her unconscious body out of the elevator, and they knew what he did. And the NFL intervened with the prosecutor and got it shuttled, okay? Mm-hmm. And then when the video came out, Ray Rice was the villain, right?
Mass public.
The thing with the NFL screwed him. He should have been arrested. He should have been put in jail. Like a normal person who committed violence against a woman should have gone to jail for a couple of years. And had he done that, the way Vick went to jail, I think people would be more accepting. The fact that he got off the hook and got this bullshit 2-game suspension, and then the video came out, it was, of course, outrageous. And so the NFL actually screwed him by, protecting him. He needed to suffer the consequences of his actions, and he didn't have to. And therefore, he's, almost never going to be redeemed. And so that was the trade-off that they made.
That's true. And it's such an interesting case because Michael Vick, that was obviously in the spotlight in every single headline, and we had very visual graphics as to what was happening at his dogfighting circles, right? And there was a lot of them. But he served his time. Now, I might be a partially biased person because I really like Michael Vick on the field. I was a huge fan of him. I hate what he has done off the field, but he served his time.
Right.
He went to jail.
He went to jail for hurting animals, which,
Right. And
Sarah Palin hunts wool, she claims that she probably doesn't even do it, but she claims that she hunts all these animals. I mean, the whole thing about treatment of animals is we treat animals very poorly, too poorly as a society, and he got pretty singled out for doing some horrible things.
Right.
But so he definitely served his punishment. I don't think anyone really thinks he should get more punished than he did. No. But, these guys, they have to be allowed to suffer their punishment and get over it.
Right. He played for the Eagles, which might be the worst punishment you can get as any NFL player. Sorry, Eagles fans, had to come out.
But by the way, if there were video of Peterson doing that to the kid,
not a chance. It's a totally different story.
It would have been a whole game changer.
Whole different story.
I mean, and people are so dumb. Their imagination is so limited that they need a video to tell them what happened in these cases. Of course.
It's sad, but it's true because no video, probably 2-game suspension.
I know. It's crazy.
That's it. In case you were wondering, Ray Rice has been training, trying to get in better shape and maybe work out for some NFL teams. TMZ Sports has the tape. So I don't sign Ray Rice. I don't think you're signing Ray Rice either because
I'm not signing it. But if he were good enough, I don't know if it'd be worth the PR hit, but I think someone should sign him if he went to jail or if he really suffered. I think you got to let people say I did a horrible thing, but it doesn't mean that for my whole life I'm a horrible person.
I like that. Very objective, Chris. You can follow Chris on Twitter at Chris_List. Make sure to check out rotowire.com for observations from the NFL, East Coast offense articles, and East Coast offense podcast. As for myself, I'm usually here on TYT Sports, at JaceRuben91 on Twitter.
Before you go, make sure to check out TYT Sports on Watchable.com, a cool new platform offering the best digital video content. Please check it out and let us know what you think about the viewing experience on Watchable. Our goal is to have TYT Sports on every great platform, and we'd love to hear your feedback. That's Watchable.com. Make sure to check us out in other shows on the TYT network. Like, favorite, subscribe to this video, and we'll see you next time.